Okay, let's go to the plus button again. We're going to set up a camera. So with the default set, we have a camera option, but the camera itself, this is just a default. We're going to set it up as a follow camera. So go ahead and click on the select folder and click on the camera. Alright, so we have a camera tile type here. Let's go to the tile description. We'll just call this camera. And then the description, let's say it's follow camera. And again, you'll have, like, if you've noticed in Build a Game, there's like full sets of just cameras that allow you to do a lot of different things. This one's just going to be focused on put it in the game and let the user have something quick that they can actually use to follow with. You may find that when you're doing tile sets, that some of these are kind of they're basic elements that you want to put inside your tile set, so that if the user doesn't have one right away, they can get one just by using this with it. Okay, so the collider, we're going to turn collider off. We're going to go down to the options for the trigger settings. On the trigger settings, you have enable right here. I'm going to say it's by player. Now, we're going to do a kind of a two-state option for it. On the trigger state, we're going to say that on start, it's actually going to look for an ID for the player, which we'll look at down below. But also, we'll go ahead and say that you can do an on enter, enable, and disable. And the reason for that is that if you want to, actually, let's do none for the on exit. But on the enter, you can have it so that if you had multiple players, they could actually go through it. If you only wanted it for start and it only was supposed to connect with one player, then you can have both of these states turned off, and then you can just have this one on only. Alright, the position rotation scale for trigger is fine the way it's set up. Alright, so now we get to the camera type. Camera type is going to be, by default, is on focus. There's a lot of different options that you can use just by clicking on the different one to change the camera type. The camera trigger ID, this again is saying follow player ID. So when we make the player, as long as the player ID, the self ID, is set to 0, then at start, it'll just automatically find this player for it. Alright, and then if you go down to the follow rollout, so we check the follow type for camera, we have the follow rollout properties. By default, these are going to be kind of just a good size, a good set of variables to use. However, if you want to do a follow distance and you want to make it specific to the screen, so for instance, if my screen was a long rectangle, but then it turned into it turned into a panel this wide, what you may want to do, instead of say tile size, you could say screen size, and then the screen size down here would be setting it to the vertical horizontal widths for those parts. So either way would work. You could set by default to either one. As long as you have a regular monitor size, you won't notice a difference in terms of whether it's functioning as a follow or not. Alright, so that's actually all you have to do at this point. The rest of these all are part and properties of each specific camera type. So we've done the follow camera, we have our camera set up, and then at that point everything should work for it.